Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn webinar brought to you by Facera. Before I kind of get started, we still got about a minute before I get into the presentation. I just kind of wanted to go over a couple of things of how the webinar is going to work today. So the webinar today is going to be on benefit options for retirement. So for the next about 25, 30 minutes, or maybe even less than that, depending on how long it takes for the presentation, we're going to go through that presentation. And then after, for the remaining time of the lunch hour, I'll answer any questions that you may have about today's webinar. So if you have any questions, feel free to use that Q&A box there on the to post your questions there, and then I'm going to go through them. So let's see here. It is 12:10. I can get started. So let's get started here. Okay, so I want to first thank you all for attending the webinar today. My name is Jared Wong. I'm the communications analyst with Facera, and today's Lunch and Learn webinar is going to be about retirement benefit options. Now, I'm going to be kind of going through this presentation, pretty thoroughly and quickly as best as I can. So like I mentioned, after the presentation's over, I'm going to be answering questions that you have. So go ahead and throw those into the Q&A box there if you have any questions. After that, if there's any questions that I don't get to, feel free to email me, and I will be able to reach out to you there and answer those questions that you may have. So let's get started. So the agenda we have for today, we're going to go over quickly what is a defined benefit plan. So what is your actual benefit that you get from us? Retirement eligibility. We're going to briefly touch upon the Facera member portal, and let's see, choosing the best retirement date. That's something that does get talked about a lot. So we're going to touch upon that. And then we're going to end the presentation going over the different types of retirement. So we're going to touch upon disability retirement, but most importantly, the service retirement, which is what most of the members do go through with the retirement process. So we're going to talk about the different options that are available to you when you come in and meet with a retirement specialist. Okay, so let's see. I do got a question, or I do got someone saying that they have no sound. So if someone wouldn't mind just, it looks like on my end everything is good. So if there's anybody else in the webinar that can't, or you guys can hear me, just post in that Q&A box there just to let me know that you can hear something. But it looks like on my part here that everything is good. So let's see here. Okay. So let's go to the next slide here. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to touch upon is what is a defined benefit plan? Well, a defined benefit plan is a lifetime benefit based on specific factors. So what this really means to you is your retirement benefit from us is a lifetime benefit. So when you meet the requirements for retirement, you will get a payment from us every month for the rest of your life. Now, your retirement is based off of your retirement is based off of specific factors. So as you see on the screen there's some factors that we use to look at to calculate your retirement benefit. So we first look at your tier level and membership classification. So we look to see, are you a tier 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? And if you're a general or safety member. So you can actually find, if you're not sure what membership or tier level you are in, you can actually find that on your pay stub. That should be able to tell you there. But here, the next couple points are the most important ones. These are the ones that we look at. So we look at your age at retirement. We look at your years of service, or what we call service credit. And then finally, we would look at your salary, or what we call your final average compensation. So we take those three factors there along with your tier level of membership classification and run a calculation. And then that's how we calculate what you will get from us every month for the rest of your life. Now, in order to receive a lifetime benefit from Facera, you do need to be vested in the plan. To be vested in the plan, you need to at least have 5 years of service. Perfect. So now I'm starting to see everybody kind of giving me, I can hear you just fine, stuff like that. Awesome, awesome, great. Thank you guys so much. Okay, so let's move on. So here on this next slide, this is just a little quick table about retirement eligibility. So this kind of shows the different eligibility statuses that you need to retire based off the different tier or membership classification that you're in. So if you look at tiers 1 through 4 under a general membership, the main minimum requirement to retire is age 50 with 10 years of service. Now, if you look at general tier 5, that is age 52 with 5 years of service. And then if we look at the safety column there, safety tier 1, 2, and 4, safety does not have a tier 3. So if you fall under one of those 3 tiers, it's age 50 with 10 years of service, or if you're a safety tier 5, it's age 50 with 5 years of service. And as I mentioned earlier, if you're unsure what tier or membership classification you are in, you can find that out on your pay stub, or you can give our office a call. Now, the question that we get asked a lot all the time, I get emails, I get phone calls, our office, our retirement specialists get called. How much is my benefit at retirement? Well, I'm here to tell you that there's a way that you can look at that yourself, 24 hours a day, 365. That's our Facera member portal. So utilizing the Facera member portal is going to be one of your best financial planning tools for your Facera pension for when you're ready to retire. So you can go to our website, fresnocountyretirement.org, register for the member portal with the personal email address. If you need to register, you will need a unique identifier. That's a number that's individually assigned to you. So if you, we did send a letter out with that a couple years back, but that's okay if you don't have that. You could just call our office or send us an email with your work email address, and we can get that unique identifier number to you so you can complete your registration. Now, once you complete your registration, you'll have access to the member portal. So some of the things you can look at is viewing beneficiary information, contribution balance, but more importantly, at least as it pertains to this webinar, you can calculate retirement benefit estimates. So you could calculate different estimates for different dates of retirement that you're looking at, like let's say age 55, 60, or when I hit 25 years of service, it will tell you what your estimated retirement benefit is based off of the information that we have in the system for you, and then it'll break down the different options that are available to you. So that is why it's super, super important to register for that portal, because it does allow you to utilize and look at all your information anytime that you need. As I mentioned too, as I see some questions popping up in the Q&A box there, I'm going to go through the presentation and then I will answer your questions after the presentation, because I want to make sure that we get through this and I give enough time to answer the questions too as well. Okay, so choosing the best retirement date, another popular question that we get asked. So people will ask, hey, when's the best time to retire? Honestly, it just depends. There really is not a best time to retire that we personally can tell you to do. It's all really up to you and your circumstance. So here's a couple things to consider when you're planning your retirement. So one of the factors that we use to calculate your lifetime benefit is your age. So just keep in mind that every quarter year of age, it helps increase your benefit a little bit. So if you're, let's say if you're 55, if you hit 55 and a quarter, 55 and a half, 55 and 3/4, every quarter age, your benefit slightly increases. So that's a factor. Another big factor that a lot of members tend to use when picking their retirement date is if you happen to fall in tiers 1 through 3. If you happen to be in tiers 1 through 3, you're eligible for a potential 3% up to a max of 3% cost of living adjustment each year that's paid in April. So you may have some coworkers that you talk to and stuff that said, hey, best time to retire is in March, or best time to, things like that we used to end of March. We call that March Madness, not the NC2A tournament, but that's when our busiest time is. So the reason for that is a lot of those people that are retiring in March or in that first quarter of that year is because of that cost of living adjustment. So usually when we get when we hit a new calendar year, right around February of that year, our Board of Retirement approves a cost of living adjustment. So that cost of living adjustment can be a max of 3%. So when that's announced, usually the first or second board meeting of February, once that's announced, usually that will help determine if somebody is on the fence of retiring. So, and I'm going to give you a reason why in the next slide. So we'll come back to this cost of living thing here. Now, something to consider if you're in tiers 4 and 5, like myself, there was no annual cost of living adjustment. So there's going to be other ways that I'm going to have to determine my retirement date through other investments such as the deferred compensation plan, things like that. So I'm gonna have to really look at my finances and see, like, am I really ready to retire at that point? Another thing to consider that a lot of people do when they choosing their retirement date is anniversary dates. So if they happen to hit 25 years of service, 30 years of service, things like that, those type of anniversaries, that might be another driving factor that members consider when they are choosing their retirement date. And then, while you're just trying to determine the best time to retire for yourself, utilize the Facera member portal. Like I mentioned, you can run estimates for different dates of your choosing. So you can pick different dates of the year and then figure out what would be the most benefit to you. Now, as I mentioned on the previous slide about the cost of living adjustment. So for anyone that is eligible for that COLA, that's anyone that's in tiers 1 through 3, you get a cost of living adjustment every year. So this is an example of how the cost of living would work. Okay, so mind the dates. I know that this is all fictitious stuff, and the dates and the numbers are fictitious. So members considering a retirement date of August 1st of 2021. Their unmodified benefit amount at that date would be $3,115. Now, let's say if the member decides to retire 4 months earlier, their unmodified benefit amount would be $3,080. So a little less, which makes sense because you're working, your benefit would be bigger in August because you're working longer. You have 4 more months of service credit, and you might also hit a different age. So, but let's say that the member's considering to retire on April 1st. Now, let's say that year, if they're choosing to retire on April 1st, that the Board of Retirement approves a 1.5% COLA increase for anyone that is eligible for the COLA. So now that changes things. So if this member here chooses to retire on April 1st and gets that 1.5% COLA, now their benefit increases to $3,126 per month, which is $9 more than if they were to retire in August. So this is one thing that people consider when they talk about the COLA, especially if you're looking to retire, a couple months after April. So like in those summer months or something, depending on what the COLA is and what your benefit amount is, it may be more beneficial for you to retire in April or earlier and get that COLA rather than wait to retire later on. Because now, let's say if you retire in April, in this example here, you're getting $9 more than if you were to wait till August 1st. Now, if you decided to retire on August 1st, that's still okay. That's your choice. You just would not be eligible for any COLA increases until the following year, until April of 2022, as of this example here. So that's kind of a big reason why people look at their options when they're choosing to retire and their dates, because that COLA is so important to some members that fall under those eligible tiers, and then that's how they determine what their best course of action is, because it might be more advantageous to retire in March or April if you were already considering retiring in May or June, something like that, because the COLA may be more than that. So that's something just to consider. So that was a little example I threw in there. Okay, so now the different types of retirement that we offer at Facera. So we offer 2 types: disability retirement, which is broken down into service-connected disability and non-service-connected disability, and then service retirement, which is your normal retirement process, which the majority of Facera members go through when they're ready to retire. Now, for disability retirements, if you become disabled and you are considered unable to perform the essential functions of your job, you may be eligible to apply and be granted a disability retirement. So you can apply for a disability retirement by completing an application that can be found on our website. All this information is on our website, by the way, so there's a ton of information on there, so you can actually access that as well and find the application on there. We also have our disability policy that can be found on our website, as well as a disability flowchart that goes over the different processes of the disability, the different stages of the disability process, and timeline, estimated timeline of how that works and how long the process usually takes. Now, we offer 2 types of disability retirements: service-connected disability and non-service connected disability. So Service-connected disability basically means that you were injured at work. You were injured on the job, and your doctor deems you incapacitated from performing the daily duties of your job. You're disabled. Temporary disabled is not applicable for the disability process, so keep that in mind. You have to be permanently incapacitated. There's no minimum service requirements to be potentially granted a service-connected disability, so you do not have to be vested with 5 years of service. And a service-connected disability pays 50% of final average compensation or your service retirement benefit if you're eligible for one, whichever the amount is greater. So contact a retirement specialist if you have more questions about the disability process, because that's as far as I go. Now, the other one, non-service connected disability, this is really just an injury or illness outside of work. The same rules apply except a couple other differences. So you still have to be considered permanently disabled. The doctor still has to consider you permanently incapacitated. But for a non-service connected disability to potentially be granted, you do need to at least have a minimum of 5 years of service credit. So you do need to be vested in the plan. Now, the calculation for a non-service connected disability varies. So it depends on your age and the years of service that you have when you file for that non-service connected disability. Your benefit amount could be up to 1/3 of your final average compensation or your service retirement benefit amount, whichever is greater. If you have any questions, check out our website, look at the disability flow chart, the policy, and then you can always call our office and speak to a disability specialist. Now, the real meats and potatoes of this presentation, the service retirement. This is what the majority of members come through our office to process their retirement. Service retirement is your basic retirement package that is based off of the 3 factors that I spoke of earlier, which is the ones that we use to calculate your lifetime benefit, which are age of retirement, your final average compensation earnable, so your salary. Now, as you can see on the screen there, depending on what tier that you're in, we calculate your final average compensation a little differently. So if you happen to be in tiers 1 and 2, we look at your highest consecutive 365 days or 1 year of salary. Tiers 3 and 4, we look at your average of your 3 highest individual years at any point in your career. And then tier 5, we look at your average of your 3 highest consecutive years. And then finally, the last factor we look at is your total years of service that you earned by working, plus if you purchased any service credit. So now we're going to kind of get into the different options that are available to you when you come in and speak to a retirement specialist and want to get the retirement process started. So the first option that is available to you is the unmodified option. This unmodified option provides the highest monthly benefit amount that you can receive from us based off of your age, years of service, and your final average compensation. Now, this unmodified option allows you to leave a 60% continuance to an eligible beneficiary in the case of your death, meaning that whatever your unmodified amount is, in the case of your death, your eligible beneficiary will get 60% of that every month for the rest of their lifetime. This option is one of the only 2 options that we offer that allows you to change your beneficiary after retirement. Now, I mentioned that you can leave an eligible beneficiary 60% for the rest of their life. An eligible beneficiary with this option is a spouse or a minor child. So you need to be married or in a registered partnership for at least 1 year prior to retirement, or if you happen to get married or in a registered partnership after retirement, that needs to be going on for at least 2 years up until the member's death. And then the spouse or partner has to be at least 55 years of age. Now, the second one, minor child or children, that 60% continuance applies to those minor children up until they turn the age of 18 or age 22 if they are full-time enrolled in an accredited school, and each semester you provide us transcripts with class schedules. So those are the only 2 beneficiaries for this option here that will leave them a 60% lifetime continuance, which in theory, the minor children is not considered lifetime because it is age capped. Now, you could still select this option, providing you the highest monthly benefit from us, even if you do not have an eligible beneficiary. So what happens with that is, if you happen to elect the unmodified option without an eligible beneficiary, that beneficiary would, in the case of your death, would receive a lump sum of your remaining contributions and interest that you have left in your retirement bucket at the time of your death. Now, usually if someone selects that unmodified option, those contributions bucket usually lasts anywhere from 2 to 3 years. After that, that contribution bucket is normally exhausted, so there probably would not be anything left to pay out there. But this is a popular option. This is probably one of our most popular options selected amongst members, married or single, because it provides that highest monthly benefit amount. The second option that we offer is option 1. Now, the big thing about this option, this is the only option that we offer that provides no survivor continuance, meaning that in the case of your death, your beneficiary is not getting a lifetime benefit for the rest of their lifetime. Now, this option 1, if a member does select this option, it is a slightly reduced monthly benefit. So if someone were to select this option, that means upon the member's death, your beneficiary would receive a lump sum payment of your remaining contributions and interest. Now, selecting this option, you're using up your actual contributions at a slower rate. So, as I mentioned with the unmodified option, that contribution bucket lasts, 2 to 3 years. Option 1 can last anywhere from 15 to 18 years to leave a potential lump sum payment to the beneficiary of your choice. And along with this unmodified option, option 1 are the only 2 options that we have under the Facera plan that will allow you to change your beneficiary after retirement. So if you elect someone at retirement, like let's say a friend or a sibling, and then you want to change that to, let's say, put me as your primary beneficiary, for example, after you retire, you can do so. Normally, option 1 is not selected amongst married members. It is usually selected with single members. If a married member does want to select option 1, for example, they have to sign a notarized waiver waiving their right to any potential lifetime continuing benefit. Okay, so the next 3 options, the last 3 options that we offer, options 2, 3, and 4, all have very similar characteristics. So the first thing I'm going to mention about these 3 options is they all provide some type of lifetime benefit or lifetime continuance to a beneficiary of your choice. The second thing about these options are you cannot change your beneficiary after you've retired. They are set in stone. So let's take a look at this first option here, option 2. This is a reduced monthly allowance based on age of beneficiary. This option does not have to be an eligible spouse, and like I mentioned, you cannot change your beneficiary for any reason. This option here provides roughly a 100% continuance to your beneficiary. So let's look at that first bullet point, a reduced monthly allowance based on age of beneficiary. So what that means is you can list anyone that you want to as your beneficiary. It could be does not have to be a spouse. It could be a child. It could be an adult sibling, whoever. But keep this in mind. The bigger the age difference between you and that beneficiary that you're electing, the bigger reduction in your monthly benefit check that you will receive every month from us. So the bigger the age difference between you and that beneficiary, the bigger hit you will take. Now, on that last bullet point there, if you decide to select a beneficiary that is a non-spouse and then has more than 10 years in age difference to you, we actually send that calculation out to our actuary to do that calculation for us. So we don't do that calculation in-house. How that could affect you is if we end up having to send that calculation out to the actuary, we're at the mercy of the actuary. So that could delay when you potentially receive your first benefit check. Option 3, same thing as option 2, except it only provides a 50% continuance to a beneficiary of your choice. So, but the same rules apply. It's a reduced monthly allowance based on the age of the beneficiary. So the bigger the age gap between you and the beneficiary that you're electing, and it's one beneficiary, by the way, you can only be one for options 2 and 3. The bigger the age difference between you and that beneficiary, the more of a reduction that you will take. As I mentioned, it does not have to be an eligible spouse, and you cannot change your beneficiary for any reason after you retire because your benefit is based off of the age difference of that beneficiary that you elected. So for options 2 and 3, if that beneficiary were to predecease you, there is nobody there that you can elect to fill that primary beneficiary spot to pick up that continuance that was owed to the predeceased beneficiary. Now, with option 3, it only provides a 50% continuance to a beneficiary. Normally, normally someone picks option 3 if it is a member that wants to leave let's say an adult child, a sibling, maybe even a really close friend, a continuance. Normally, married couples do not select this option because why would you take a reduced monthly allowance and only 50% to your spouse when you can select the unmodified amount and it leaves a 60% continuance to that spouse already. I do see married members take option 2 as well, rather than the unmodified, because the reduction in option 2 may not be that much more than the unmodified, to where they're providing their spouse a 100% continuance rather than a 60% continuance. Okay, and finally, the last option that we offer is option 4. We normally don't see this option a lot, but we do see it in certain circumstances. Option 4 is a customized actuarial calculation based on specific instructions. Normally, we see this option selected with members that have to comply due to a marital settlement agreement due to a divorce. So if you have a divorce and your ex-spouse is owed a lifetime benefit, we have to go this route here. But even if that doesn't apply to you, you can still select option 4. Now, option 4 allows you to customize your calculation based off of your choices. So it allows you to customize your retirement benefit for multiple beneficiaries, meaning that it's very similar to option 2 and 3, where we look at the age difference between you and your beneficiary, but you can leave, with this option 4, you can leave multiple beneficiaries a continuing lifetime benefit. But keep in mind that you cannot change your beneficiary for any reason, and then the age difference and the number of beneficiaries that you want to elect in this custom calculation can impact what your lifetime benefit would be from us. And then also, this is another calculation that we would send to our actuary. So this also, going this option 4 route, can also potentially delay when you receive your first paycheck from us. Now, we have 2 types of option 4s. The first one is basic option 4. So if someone wants to do a option 4 and go the basic route, the first calculation that we send to our actuary is free of charge. So you can get one sent to the actuary free of charge. If you get that one back and you want to change the percentages up, or you want to add another beneficiary or whatever that may be, to send a second calculation, there is a charge by the actuary of $750. Now, a basic option 4, like I mentioned, is customized and you can have multiple beneficiaries. But the key factor with this basic option 4 is if you list multiple beneficiaries, they all must have equal percentages of a continuing benefit. So for example, let's say that if you want to have 2 beneficiaries, A and B, let's say that you want to have 40% of whatever your lifetime benefit is split evenly to beneficiary A and beneficiary B. You can do that with a basic option 4. So the main thing to get from this one is that all your beneficiaries, however, how many that you list, all have to have equal percentages. Now, the other option 4 that we have is the non-basic. So this one here, to do this calculation, it's $750 right out the gate. There is no free calculation because this calculation offers a little more customization. So as you can see on the screen there, this allows for more unequal percentages. So you can leave beneficiaries different percentages at the time of your death. So for example, 40% of my benefit, let's say you want 60% of that to go to beneficiary A and 40% to beneficiary B. Now, the second big characteristic of a non-basic option 4 is reversion. All this means that is you can have it written into that calculation that if you have 2 beneficiaries, beneficiary A and beneficiary B, you can have it listed as if beneficiary A passes away, you can have their share go to beneficiary B. So beneficiary B ends up getting a 100% continuance. So that's what we call reversion. That's one of the key benefits or perks, I guess, of a non-basic option 4. So that's why there's a $750 charge right out the gate. But like I mentioned with these option 4, these customized calculations, we rarely do see them. We mostly see them with divorce settlements, but these options are available to you if you want to go the customized route. Just keep in mind, if you do that, there is potential for a slight delay in your retirement benefit. Now, scheduling your appointment for when you're ready to retire. So to schedule an appointment to meet with the specialist, there's a couple things that you can do. The first thing is choose a retirement date. So it's important that you figure out a date of retire first before contacting our office to schedule an appointment. Our retirement specialists are only meeting with members currently that are signing a retirement application. So first thing there is to choose a retirement date. Once you choose that date, you can call our office no earlier than 90 days prior to that retirement date to schedule an appointment. So then, once you call our office to be put down on our list, our log, a retirement specialist will contact you to schedule that appointment within 60 days of that retirement date that you choose. That 60 days is important because by retirement law, you cannot actually sign any paperwork to process the retirement outside of that 60-day window of the retirement date that you choose. Now, when the retirement specialist contacts you to schedule that appointment, they will also inform you if you need to bring any documents as well. So like if you need to bring a birth certificate, marriage certificate, things like that. So keep that in mind. Real quickly here, and then we're going to get into some of your questions here. We do have a couple of more upcoming webinars here. So next week, same time from 12 to 1, we're gonna have another Lunch and Learn webinar. That's about the temporary annuity option, the TAL. What this is, in a brief cliff notes, is an advance on your Social Security. The temporary annuity option is for members that are retiring under the age of 62. So this benefits this webinar benefits anyone that is planning to retire under the age of 62. If you are 62 or older, there's really no need to attend this webinar. And then right now, this is the first time I'm actually saying this, but on September 23rd, I'm going to be doing another mid-career webinar from 10 to 12. This webinar here is mostly designed for members that have at least 5 years of service and at least 10 years out from retirement. So we go over the basics of retirement, but we'll also go over different things to look at before planning your retirement. So it's a great way to learn about the basics. So if this doesn't apply to you, that's great. But if it applies to some of your coworkers and you think that they may be interested, let them know. I will be sending out an announcement about this webinar probably in a week or so. But this is the first time I'm announcing it here. So this is just to give you guys a little sneak peek, and thank you for being here for the webinar. And then finally, I'm going to leave this slide up here. This is our contact information. Then I'm going to get into the questions here that you guys have. Contact our office for any questions. Like I mentioned, call 90 days prior to retirement date. Our mailing address is on there. Our office is open from 9 to 12 and 1 to 5 p.m. You can give us a call. Send us the emails if you have any questions. Send us an email there, or you can visit at facera@fresnocountyca.gov, and then you can visit our website at fresnocountyretirement.org. Okay, so with that, I'm going to get into some of the questions that you guys have. We'll try and get through these as fast as we can here. If I change jobs and or departments, could my tier change? If you're changing, that question's a little loaded. So if you're changing departments, no. If you're changing jobs, it depends if you're changing jobs and still sticking with the same employer. So if you're a County of Fresno employee, for example, and you're just saying like right now, I'm an analyst here at Facera at retirement, but let's say I decide to go be an accountant at the assessor's office or DSS, whatever that may be. My tier would not change. Now, if you were to leave employment and then get rehired back a couple of years later, your tier potentially could change, because if there's new legislation written in and we have a new tier, you could be potentially moved in that new tier. But if you're making a lateral move from one department to the next, your tier would not change. What are the options one has with their vacation time? Okay, so this is the question that gets asked a lot, and I probably should have thrown that on the slide here, but there's too much to go here in an hour. So vacation time with retirement, we don't handle anything with your annual leave hours. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. We don't handle anything with your annual leave hours. you'll want to contact employee benefits at 600-1810. Usually when you're ready to retire, any annual leave hours will be cashed out to you on your last paycheck, or you can have those hours rolled over to the nationwide deferred comp plan if you have a deferred comp plan. So normally those hours are just cashed out, or you have the option to roll over those hours. Now, when you retire, we do get our specialists do receive a report from HR, from employee benefits, that lists your annual leave hours. If there's any annual leave hours that can be used towards retirement service credit, we will make that adjustment to your account on your third benefit check, and then on your third check you will see an increase in your benefit. Now, because there's multiple annual leave plans in the county, for example, or even in your plan sponsor, you need to speak to employee benefits, or if you're in a different plan sponsor than the county, you need to speak to your HR department and to ask if what those hours can be used for. We don't make jurisdictions on that. The retirement newsletter says on or before April 1st. You just said April, which is correct. It is on or before April 1st. I may have just tried to get through it as fast. No, if you are eligible for the COLA in tiers 1 through 3, you need to retire on or before April 1st of that current year to receive that year's COLA. So for 2022, for next year, if you're looking to retire, you just need to retire on or before April 1st to receive that 2022 COLA. Anyone that is eligible for a COLA that retires after April 1st of 2022 will need to wait until 2023. How might my unused vacation hours impact my retirement? That is, I utilize my unused vacation hours earned help me in my retire earlier, a few weeks earlier, will impact my retirement monthly benefit. As I mentioned earlier, you need to talk to employee benefits or your HR department if you're in a different county, different plan sponsor than the county of Fresno. We don't make jurisdictions on those hours. Usually regular annual leave hours are cashed out to you, but speak to your HR or employee benefits department and they can clarify that for you. Is this 90 working days or 90 days? 90 days from your retirement date. But keep in mind, when you call to schedule that appointment, your appointment will not be scheduled until you are within 60 days from the retirement date that you choose. So we only schedule for the appointments once you have that date locked in, because if you're coming in to sign paperwork, you cannot sign paperwork outside that 60-day window. So that's why it's super important when you call to make an appointment, we have to know your date of retirement. Can you assign a non-US citizen living in a different country as a beneficiary? I believe so, you can. That's a question that I have not been asked before, actually, though. I believe you can, but I would have to confirm with the retirement specialist. So if you want to send us an email, we can get that answer for you. In the unmodified option, can you change beneficiary? Yes, you can. You can change your beneficiary. The unmodified option and option 1 are the only two options that we offer that you can change your beneficiary to after retirement. The other options that we offer, they are set in stone. You cannot change them. When you talk about quarters, are you talking about calendar quarters or are you referring to birth date quarters? That's a very good question. So when I'm talking about age quarters, I'm talking about birth date quarters, not calendar quarters. So we're looking at, because your age is a factor in your retirement, each quarter age is impacting your retirement benefit. So it is birth date quarters, not calendar quarters. Great question. Once you retire, is it just once a month payment, and can we request to be paid bi-weekly? It is okay. So when you retire, it's a once a month payment. You will get paid once a month on the last business day of the month. So it's once a month on the last business day. What about health insurance? How much does that cost? That's another question we get asked a lot. We don't do anything with health insurance at Facera. So unfortunately, we can't assist you with that. You could talk to employee benefits about health insurance or your HR department if you're not a County of Fresno plan sponsor, or you can seek out third-party insurance yourself. You can seek out health insurance yourself. It's either way. But unfortunately, that's something that we do not deal with at Facera. I am a general member tier 1. The retirement chart shows I would be eligible to 100% of my wages with 31 years of service. The person who was assigned to me states that all 31 years to be in Fresno County and my reciprocal and my reciprocity from Tulare County does not count. Is that information correct? Because that information, okay, so that information is correct, yes. I have to, because of the time, that's a more of a loaded question. I would have to deal with that, talk to you more of that in detail, or you can call our office and talk to a specialist. But yes, because it's those years of service that you're seeing in the chart is counting for the services that you actually worked for the plan sponsor. So that is correct. Do I need to make a separate appointment with employee benefits if I decide to keep my health insurance? I would recommend it. Contact employee benefits and talk to them about retiree benefit options for health insurance. I definitely would contact them and talk to them about that. For insurance such as medical and Liberty Mutual, are the premiums taken out of each check or do I need to pay them separately? So I could tell you for Liberty Mutual, you're going to have to pay that separately. Now for health insurance, as far as health insurance, if you select, because the county offers two, the county offers like what they call retiree insurance and they offer COBRA. If you purchase the retiree insurance, that insurance can be deducted from your FSERA benefit check. But other than that, nothing else gets deducted. The only things that get deducted from your retiree benefit check are taxes, federal and state, if you choose to have taxes withheld. And then if you purchase that retiree insurance from the county, that could be deducted. If not, then you will have to pay those insurances out of pocket. But definitely recommend speaking to employee benefits and talk to them because they will have more information to provide you on that. Can I still contribute to deferred comp? Absolutely. If you are an active employee, you can still contribute to deferred compensation. Or if you're talking to retirement, after being retired and contribute to deferred comp, I believe you can't because you're no longer active. But I would reach out to Nationwide. That's a question that Deanna Sisk, our County of Fresno Nationwide rep, can answer. Thank you. My email is okay. I kind of went rapid fire through those questions. So the member that provided me your email, just send me an email to FSERA@FresnoCountyCA.gov. Send an email to the email that you see on the screen, so that way I can address your email with the question that you have. So if you could just do that for me, please, I would really, really appreciate that. Under unmodified option, can a beneficiary be a trust for a grandchild? No. To get that beneficiary, no. Or to get that 60%, I believe not. That cannot happen. Okay, time off bank hours. Oh, this is a good one. Do these count towards time served, or do we have to clarify this with HR benefit? So you would need to clarify, but this is why in talking to employee benefits is super important about the annual leave stuff. But time off bank hours don't have cash value, so they can be used for service credit with FSERA. So whatever you have for time off bank hours, when you retire, if you have, like, let's say 500 hours of time off bank, let's just say, for example, when you retire, after you retire, you will get a sheet, or not you will get, we will get, excuse me, we'll get a sheet from employee benefits telling us how many time off bank hours that you have. Then we will make an adjustment to your benefit to reflect those hours that can be used towards service credit. So then you can expect to see on about your third benefit check that your benefit will see that increase for those hours that you've earned. But yes, definitely talk to HR benefits about those. How can I purchase service time? So we do have a service credit request form on our website. If you took a medical leave or work extra help and stuff like that, that's great. You can buy that time back. You would just need to print out that request for service credit calculation form, fill that out, sign it, send it to our office. Once our office gets that form, our benefit support staff will do the calculation for all available time that you can purchase. Once that has been complete, we will mail you a letter with a quote. That letter will have on the quote your all available time that can be purchased, your payment options, due date, and the cost of purchasing that time. Now, because we sent you that letter and you made that request, you do have no obligation to purchase that time. You can absolutely just not purchase it. So, and you can throw that away. But, you know, if you decide to purchase that, then you can make that purchase and it will reflect in increasing your service credit toward your retirement. If I get a raise, which was effective March 22, 2021, but the first check is not received until April 16th, when does the calculation for the start for the highest final average compensation? If your raise was effective March 22nd, that's when the date starts, not when you receive the paycheck, is when the pay rate actually starts. Okay, so we have a couple more minutes left. Thank you guys all for sending in those questions. Those are very, very good questions. If you have any other questions, you know, please send some questions out right now. If not, you know, let's see. One sec. Sorry, I was just like looking at a couple things here. But if you guys have any other questions, you know, I got a couple more minutes. If not, that's really it for the webinar today. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I know it's a lot of information crammed in an hour, so this will be uploaded later and recorded so we can put that online on our website and things so people can watch this at their own pace, at their own time, along with our other educational opportunities that we're doing in the future for webinars. I'm going to be sending out a survey to everybody probably within the next couple hours or maybe tomorrow, just to give me some feedback on how the seminar went, the webinar. If you guys have any concerns or any suggestions to improve, we definitely want to hear from you, because we're very excited that we're rolling out these educational webinars, and we think that they're very beneficial to all of you to help educate more about the retirement process and the plan. So we're definitely looking forward to providing you with more content out there. Next week, we have another webinar at the same time. It's about the temporary annuity option, or the TAO. This is basically a supplemental option that you can choose when you retire if you are under the age of 62. So if you're listening to this right now and you're age 62 or older, there's really no need to attend next week's webinar. Is it possible to get a copy of the slide presentation if I provide my email address? Yes, I can give you that. Just send us an email to facera@fresnocountyca.gov and I can get you a copy. I believe you may have gotten a copy from the first email when you requested to join the webinar, but if not, I can send it to you. That's no problem. If I were out on an extended sick leave for, let's say, 3 months, how much of an effect would that have on my retirement? That's really a loaded question that I can't answer, because I would have the specialists would have to literally look at the different numbers and see. It would affect your benefit. Like I wouldn't say significantly, because I don't know the dollar amounts of how much that would affect, because I'm more of a numbers person. So I don't want to say it's going to affect you tremendously if it only affects you, like, let's say $30 a month or something like that. You know, there's that's something I really can't answer. That's something you could definitely call our office though, and we can look at, and our specialists can look at. Okay, so let's see. We got time. We got a little less than 2 minutes left. So if we got time for like maybe 1 or 2 more questions, if not, I think that will probably do it for us. So I'll just stick around here for another minute or so and see if there's another question. If not, that's okay. Thank you. No, I want to thank you all again for being here this afternoon and tuning into the webinar. I hope you found it informational. It's a lot of information thrown at you in an hour, so hopefully you found that very, very helpful. So thank you. Okay, so with that, I don't think I have any more questions, so I am going to end the webinar. But if you do have any other questions, feel free to send us an email at facera@fresnocountyca.gov, or you can give me a call. If I can't answer your question, I could forward them to a retirement specialist. So feel free to always contact our office if you have any questions. We're here to help. Thanks again for attending the webinar today, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Have a good one. Oh, how can I register for the 825 webinar? Send an email to facera@fresnocountyca.gov. Send us an email to the email you see on the screen there, and we can register you. Okay, have a good day, everybody.